it's a review, right? A bit of frustration that VV spoke of yesterday, but yeah, what was the players feeling after the review?
Yeah, obviously really disappointing loss. So we went through, I guess, what broke down not just in the last quarter, but throughout the game, and what ultimately cost us the game. And yeah, certainly some hard conversations there, but plenty to learn. So yeah, disappointing. Obviously, really disappointing, but good to review it and move on.
When you say hard conversations, can you give any insight about what that looks like?
Oh, it was probably just instances where we just went away from the way we want to play in that last quarter in particular. Obviously, we didn't get it done around the stoppage in the contest, but then also we were a bit safe with the ball and then didn't defend the way we want in that last quarter. So probably just fell away from what we wanted to do, and yeah, that was really disappointing. And we got the result we got.
Is it player driven or coach driven when you say hard? And I'm guessing that's just a bit of honest feedback. Who drives that?
We'll a bit of both. Yeah, we'll have our player only meeting where we'll drive feedback to each other and drive the standards we want to drive, and that can be pretty powerful coming from each other. And then yeah, certainly coach directed stuff as well, what they want to see and where we fell away from our game plan.
Do you prefer the player only one? Is there a preference?
I think it's definitely powerful coming from your teammates, because you don't want to let your teammates down. So hearing feedback from your teammates and hearing that you didn't do the right thing, didn't get the job done in the moment, it's certainly very, very powerful. So certainly trying to build a culture of player empowerment and driving the standards ourselves.
When you look at the last quarter, I mean, the zip 12 in clearances, people probably assume that lies entirely with you, rightly or wrongly, but how is that reviewed, and where do you, not put the blame, but where did you see it break down?
Yeah, they obviously elevated, and they do it every week in that last quarter, and we just didn't match them around the ball. And yeah, they got some good plays in there, but we just didn't get it done at the coalface for whatever reason. There was a variety of reasons. It wasn't sort of one thing, but yeah, certainly as a ruckman and as any midfielder, you sort of take responsibility for that and try to work out why. But yeah, it was disappointing in terms of we want to be able to, in those clutch moments and critical moments, take the game and get the ball in our half.
What would you do differently if you had your time again?
From a personal perspective, I mean, I'd love more dominance and more connection in the ruck. Let a couple of balls out the back, which I normally wouldn't do. But that's probably the main things, really. And just I guess will ourselves into the contest and take the game by the scruff of the neck and win those clearances and get the ball going forward.
Is that more frustrating when you're up against a former teammate who's hadn't been a ruckman for very long?
Yeah, definitely. No, it was great going up against Billy. He's obviously a good old teammate, good friend. Yeah, so I would have liked to have, I guess, had more dominance in there in terms of winning that clearance battle at the end. But yeah, there's a lot of 50-50s that we just didn't win late in that game, and yeah, it was disappointing.
So much of the stoppage clearance stuff, I guess, about hit-outs to advantage. Who's in the wrong in those situations when you don't win the clearance? Do the midfielders need to know where to stand, or is that down to you to pick them out? Or
it was probably a little bit last quarter. I mean, it was our mindset probably went a little bit too defensive. We were sort of man on man, and they were obviously, Collingwood haven't had ruckman the last few weeks there, and they got some really good midfielders in there who played pretty aggressively on body and pretty tight, and they sort of, yeah, they probably just, it was a lot of one-on-one contests that we probably lost, and they were, any balls we were able to connect, they were onto it and tackled, and so yeah, we, yeah, it's certainly I guess a combination, but we probably just went a little bit too passive at the stoppage late in the game. It's probably the overall thing.
Yeah, and I suppose not having Jordan in there, he goes down back as a ruckman. You'd probably like someone who's one of the better clearance players as well in there. Does that speak to the need to be more attacking in those situations?
Oh man, it's certainly a balance. I mean, we don't want to be all out attack trying to score. We want to stop them scoring, and that's why we had the +1 down back. Yeah, so but certainly like to win the ball out of the middle. You don't want to lose the clearance and then have numbers back and then be able to have to work the ball all the way through the ground. So yeah, on reflection, we probably might have liked more density around the stoppage and to win more clearances rather than numbers behind the ball. But that's something we'll work out as those games come up again.
Has the emotion come out of it yet for you, mate?
It's coming. I reckon it's starting to seep out today. it sat in the gut pretty badly. Probably the most disappointing loss I've probably ever been a part of in terms of how flat I felt after the game and how flat we all felt as a collective. Certainly, a game we let slip. So, really disappointing. But, Nixie was big on just moving on pretty quickly, having disappointment sit in the gut for a while, but then you can't stew on it because we've got a big challenge this week and can't wait for that.
Is that a sign of how far you've come? That you played arguably the best team in the comp and you really feel dirty that you didn't beat them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mindset certainly expecting to win and losing out like that's very, very deflating for everyone. Whereas in the past it might be an honourable loss, but certainly gone well past that stage now. We expect to win and win every game. And I felt like we were for the vast majority of the weekend. We took it up to the informed team of the comp and we were better for most parts of the night. We just weren't able to close it out. So we've certainly shown that our best can beat the best.
There's a shot of you on the final siren. I'm not sure if you've seen it. The siren goes, Collingwood celebrates, and you're sort of just like walking, shaking your head, almost in disbelief. Do you sort of remember what your emotions were like in that sort of moment? Yeah,
I was pretty flat when the siren went. It was a bit of disbelief, really, because I was pretty confident we were going to hold on, and then, things just didn't go to plan, and it was a bit of disbelief, a bit of disappointment that we weren't able to get it done from a team collective, and then you probably just, every individual in the team, you probably run through every moment that you didn't get it done in that last quarter and what you could have done differently, and you certainly do a bit of that, but it was pretty hollow feeling when that siren went.
What about this week then? What do you implement? What are the challenges of going up against the Cats? I mean, I'm not sure if Stanley's around, but your blitz halves will jump into you for most of the day at times.
Yeah, I mean, from a team perspective, they're obviously in great form, but it's probably just playing smart. They're a pretty good team down there, pretty good defence, so just being smart with our ball movement. Individual point of view, I'll see who I'm up against, but hopefully get some good dominance around in the ruck and then be able to take some marks and get going forward and back. So that's the plan.
Would you like to hit the scoreboard a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, in general, I'll probably err being on the defensive side of the ball and trying to intercept the ball, but I'd love to get forward more and test my opposition and take more marks. I've probably been in position a few times the last few weeks and just haven't been able to complete a few marks and a few goals early in the year, so I'd love to be able to do that, but we'll try and keep building that into my game because I feel like my ability to outwork my opponent certainly is strength, and as an opposition ruckman, not the best spot to be in when you're defending one-on-one deep, so I certainly try to keep building that into my game.
Just on this weekend, is there a harder away trip in the league?
Probably historically, probably not. But the good thing is, I mean, it's a great challenge, and we love a challenge. So I'm pretty excited for it. They're probably going to be expected to win down there at Cardinia Park, but we'll go in with a mindset of taking it right up to them and getting it done. Because, as I said, we expect to win every week, and this week's no different. So can't wait for the challenge on that.
There's always a bit of talk about the shape of Cardinia Park, but I assume since it's been redeveloped, it's not as skinny as it used to be. Just your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it's still pretty narrow. So I mean, it's a different ground. You've got to play it in a different way. So obviously, really narrow wings, and we'll certainly go through how we play that in terms of our offence. We've got James Reilly here, who's coached at Geelong for a lot of years, so he has a lot of insight into what teams that go well down there do and what teams that don't go well down there do. So we'll certainly do a lot of work over the next few days to prepare and come up with a game plan to win the game.